Hey guys, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to cook a steak. So, by all means, I'm no expert on steak. I actually don't eat it a whole lot, but there's a few things that I learned over the years, so I'm going to try and give you as much advice as I could, as best as I could. First off, I want to say, I love you all. I really appreciate you watching this video, and let's get started. So, the first thing you want to do, you want to let your steak rest for about an hour before cooking outside, just so the temperatures are a little bit lower. I mean, well, average, I guess, because the lower the temperature is, the longer it'll take to get to that point. So, let it rest for about an hour. And another thing that you want to kind of do, well, you don't have to do, but I put plastic wrap. Why? Because when you're seasoning it, it's not going to make a mess everywhere. So, if you'd like to do this trick too, that'd be quite amazing. So, there's lots of ways how to season the steak. What I believe, salt, pepper, and then you do everything else later. Because all those extra other herbs, spices, they might burn, they might just not be as flavorful as you could do it live afterwards. So, salt and pepper. You want to season it a good amount. If you under-season it, it's not going to be super great, and at the same time, it acts as an absorbent agent. So when you're actually cooking it, instead of having juices at the bottom, kind of like a boiling effect, it's going to be very, very dry, and you want that dry heat. So I already have my oven at 400, because we're going to be popping it in the oven. And depending on your cuisance or degree of doneness, you want to put it in the oven longer. But the searing process should remain about the same, unless you're doing a blue or a very rare, and then you really have to cook it as minimum as possible. The trick, you want a very, very, very hot pan. And then everything else is good to go. So, salt. You're going to want to season both sides. So, as you can see, I'm putting a fair amount of salt. And I'm going to get that black pepper going. Then, I'm going to flip it over. And another thing that's great about the plastic is all that extra kind of seasoning that didn't go on the steak could also have a chance to go back. Because it just doesn't go out in the void, you know what I mean? Just as a general rule of steak in general, I don't know why I said that twice, but you want a good amount of fat content. And I'm not talking about fat content here. I'm talking about the inner marbling. The more expensive the steak, normally the more marbling there is. So you want to see a lot of veiny white intersecting your red. Now, obviously, I didn't pay a lot for this steak, so it's not the best quality, but it's pretty good. For this video, I'm going to use a strip loin steak. I will make filet mignon videos. I will make rib videos, because each one you could do kind of in a different way, but generally following the same kind of rules. So, steaks are seasoned. I got everything prepared for the sauce, which I'm going to do at the end with you guys. But right now I'm waiting for my pan to get as hot as possible. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of oil, because that will help the steak. And in between each little step, I'm going to show you ways how to improve it. So instead of using an olive oil, I don't know if you could see that. No, you can't. There's basically infusion of bay leaves and garlic. So it's going to have a little bit of that, you know, that oomph. Now, you don't want a crazy amount, right? You just want a little bit. And how do you know the pan is done? It's going to start screaming at you. It's going to go tss, tss, tss. So if you have a little bit of water, you just shoot a little bit in the pan, and if you start hearing the popping, you're good to go. I know my pan is good to go because it is starting to spark. So, I'm going to move that camera. Let me see how that is. Hey, you know what? That's not bad. Okay, pan is very hot. Get everything you need, your tongs, all that stuff beforehand. You don't have to run. So you see it sparkling, guys? Let's go. You're going to want to place it one side down and then this way. You don't want to throw it in. I don't want anyone to get hurt. So there's different rules of thought, by the way, how to sear the steak. Classically, you flip it once and then you put it in the oven. Now there's certain chefs like Gordon Ramsay that will say you flip it multiple times to keep it even. So I think he flips it like 3 times, whereas the classical way is flipping it one time. You guys can decide on how you want to do it. I'm going to flip it a few times, back and forth. So tongs are very important. You don't want to burn yourself. And how you tell the steak is ready to flip, generally, you look at the sides of the color. If you see it's like a dark brown, you're good to go. This is what we're aiming for. So a little bit of toss here. Again, for this process here, you don't want to put anything else in the pan other than the oil and the steak. This is why I don't put the herbs beforehand. They could burn, and then you don't want that later. So, let's check this out. I put this one in first. See, that's the color that I want, that dark brown color. I'm going to let it in a little bit less, a little bit longer, so that not just the corners, but everything gets that color. I'm going to do my best. Again, I'm flipping it multiple times, right? So, if you only flip it once, you want to keep it longer and then make sure that color is really strong. But since I'm flipping it multiple times, it doesn't matter as much. Oh yeah, that color. Oh yeah, look at that color. This is what you want right here. That's the ultimate color. So I'm gonna aim for about a medium well. I prefer this only for my strip loins. If it's a rib, I'm gonna want it rare. Because strip loins, I find they're a little bit more tough, and for some reason, the more you cook it, it'll actually be a little better. And also the fat content on the sides, the more you cook it, the more malleable it is in your mouth. Whereas if you're cooking it rare, I find it's very chewy, and I don't particularly like that. It's getting quite smoky, so what I would suggest at home, put your fans on. I'm not going to do it now because it's going to interrupt the sounds of the video, but it's getting quite smoky in here. So now I'm going to flip it again. Yeah, see that color? I would like it a little bit more, but the reason why I'm not letting it go as much is because I'm going to flip it one more time, and then I'm going to be putting it in the oven. Oh, it's quite smoky, guys. Woohoo! So the sauce at the end is a very important part because this accompanies the steak, and you want it to have like a nice robust flavor. That's one reason why I'm going to take the time to show you how to do a very, very nice sauce. Again, there's different ways to do the sauce, but I'm going to show you like a super simple way. So I'm going to flip it again, and then I'm going to be putting it inside of the oven. Oh yeah, look at that color. Look at that color. Oh my god, that's beautiful right there. So, I'm going to pop that guy in the oven for maybe, I'm going to say 3 minutes. Should be fine. It's probably going to even be a little bit underdone, but perfectly fine. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of things that I'm going to go while I'm waiting for the steak. Things that you prepare for the sauce. So, yeah. That looks pretty gross, right? So basically what it is a slurry. And what a slurry is basically equal parts water to flour. And I'm going to show you in another video how to actually do it properly so you don't get lumps. So it's basically a slurry with a little bit of a mix. And basically the mix is actually how to make gravy. So that's a bit of a cheating way. But I like to keep this on the side in case I see my sauce is really like thin. And I'd rather not run later. Another thing that I'm going to be adding is aged balsamic. That's going to add that sweetness and that acid. And that acid is super important with the steak. Simple things like thyme, rosemary. I'm going to add a little bit of dried chives. And, okay, this is like the cheater part, but basically, you could add in cut up garlic, right? What I'm going to do to make it super sexy, I made caramelized garlic, and I'm going to be adding that inside. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Something super, super important, probably the most important part of all this, you want a wine. You want a deglazing agent. It does not have to be wine, but wine is probably the preferred method. I go with red, because that complements red meat a bit more than white. It actually doesn't matter the quality of the wine too much, but if you want like certain flavor profiles, like let's say a fruit or something to accompany, aim for that. So I'm just gonna pop in my stove, give it a little bit of a shake, and my kitchen is like an Ozzy Osbourne concert. It's getting smoky in here. Woo! So, like I said, I'm not a big guy on steak, but I do like it once in a while. What's also important is the accompaniments on the side. This video in particular is just going to be handling how to cook the steak. I will do other videos to do different sides that you can add to the steak. Awesome things that people would use normally. Mashed potato, you could get some kind of a veg like asparagus, that works perfect. Some nice partially burnt tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes, also very nice. I'm going to be doing all of these in other videos, and then, so when we put them together, it's going to make an awesome meal. It's going to be about another minute or so, and then I'm going to pop it out. One of the more important things to do with a steak, when you're done actually cooking it, you need it to rest. Now, there are certain rules on how to make it rest. So, bigger cuts of meat, not steak, it takes between 10 and 15 minutes outside. You're wrapping in aluminum foil. Because it continues to cook while out of the oven, and the internal temperatures actually go up. So what you want to do is you kind of have to think beforehand, what temperature, what cuissance do I want, and then take it out accordingly, keep letting it rest accordingly. So the normal rule is between 3 and 8 minutes for steak. 8 meaning it's a really, really thick steak, and then 3 meaning like it's kind of thinnish, like mine. So I'm going to let it rest for 3 minutes. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of like blood and stuff that's going to come out. And I'm going to be adding that to the sauce. So right now I'm going to be taking out the steak. I'm going to be getting a piece of aluminum foil that I already had prepared. Preparation is super important. You don't want to have to run around because mistakes happen when you run. And I don't want anyone to get hurt. Keep in mind when you're going in to your pan, it's hot. I don't want anyone to get burnt. So bam. Let me change glove. Now, my music has stopped, but I will replay it. So, the steak. I am then adding the steak to the aluminum foil. My finger kind of touched the pan, but it's okay, no harm, no foul. Fantastic, that's the steak. This is the pan, by the way. Look at all that stuff at the bottom. That's what I want. So, I'm putting that pan back on. I am momentarily putting the aluminum foil on my steak, trying to keep the liquids. Again, it broke. It's a used, I reused the aluminum, but preferably you want to keep it intact. Now, my element was already on, so theoretically, it's already kind of hot. I don't gotta wait too long to get that back started. So, what we're doing now, we're letting all of this kind of get hot. I'm gonna throw my wine in there, and then at that point, once it's deglazed, I'm gonna start adding the rest of my stuff. Another amazing ingredient to use with these sauces is actually Dijon. Dijon mustard is an emulsifier, so it actually makes things thick. I don't have any right now, or else I would be using that instead of my slurry in case that it doesn't thicken. But generally, I love to add that. So, you're gonna get your spatula ready because you're gonna have to do some action there. Grab your wine. It's about ready. You see the bubbling, quite hot. I actually just grabbed the pan with my hand, but I'm a beast, so it didn't hurt. But don't do that ever again. So, should I let it go a little bit more? I'm gonna put the heat a little bit. I'm gonna give it another 10 seconds, just get a little bit hotter. Yeah, it's starting to smoke. Okay, a little bit of wine. Do not put a crazy amount, then it's gonna kill it. But it's very important right now what you do. So, you're grabbing your little spatula of love. Because I don't want you to burn yourself, so grab a mat, but don't like put it on. You could, but look how I do it. There's a little bit of flexibility. So now, look what I'm doing. I'm grabbing everything from the bottom, because that's the important part, right? I'm pushing everything from the bottom, and I'm making a surface. That's all the extra fats, all those lovely pieces of meat is going to be part of my sauce. Now, depending on how acidic you want your sauce, you keep your wine longer or shorter. I'm going to let it go a little bit more because I already have an acid agent that I'm going to be adding. Keep in mind if you're using your Dijon mustard, that's also an acid agent. So you don't want it too acidic. So now, I'm going to add a few of these bulbs of garlic just because I want it to look pretty. If you're adding herbs, only add it to the end, it's going to burn. So, I'm going to be adding a little bit of that balsamic. Now, a lot of people use actual steak spice. I found something that also works. It's a little bit controversial, but pickling spices. And you want to put that now because there are harder pieces and it's not really herbs, it won't burn. But a lot of the agents that are in the pickling spice are also in the steak spice. So, put a little bit in there. It's going to make it more sweet, it's going to make it more aromatic, and I love that in sauces. So, this is the only exception to things you can add before the burning. So, bam. Oh my god, look at that. You guys can't smell this, but oh my god. Look, I don't know if you could tell the bubbling. It's actually very, very thick right now. Because of the balsamic, it thickened it up nicely. I won't even need to add anything. But I'm going to add a little bit of that balsamic. Sorry. The garlic. And I'm going to lower the heat just a little bit. When you're putting your own caramelized garlic, don't go crazy. That's even maybe too much. And what you do, you mix it, or else it's going to be one big blob of garlic, and then you're going to cry when you take a bite of that. Unless you're like me and you love garlic. Okay, guys, the sauce is so nice. Oh boy. Now, how to check if your sauce is thick? Do this. If you see that it's not falling off your spatula, that's kind of falling, but not really. So, it's okay, but I'm going to add a little bit of that slurry that I was talking about before. Just a bit. A little bit of my cheating. It'll also give a little bit of that beef flavor because I added a little bit of that gravy maker. That doesn't sound very good, but so I'm gonna add a tiny bit of water because now it's a little bit thick. You gotta keep in mind, guys, you could alter this as many times as you want. You can't really make mistakes in cooking. To some degree sometimes, but very rare. I found it a bit thick, so you know what I did? I added some water. And then I'm good to go. Look at that. And that water was amazing because you know what it did? It kind of deglazed it also a little bit. Look at that. See all the bubbles? That means it's reacting with the bottom of the pan. I'm good to go. Oh, look at that. It kind of broke a little bit, but you know what? That's perfectly fine. Okay, putting this on the side. Now, what you could also do, if you have a secondary pan, or you could kind of cheat, but you take your steak, you could also toss in a little bit of butter, or put a bit of butter in that sauce. So, I'm going to take 2 seconds. I'll grab some butter. I'm also going to grab a little bit of heavy cream. Totally optional, but it'll give fat, and fat's very nice for the flavor lasting on your palate. So you want to put just a dab. Keep in mind that's going to affect your texture of your sauce. I'm going to put a little smidgen of butter. Let me open this little pack here, and then the magic will get started. Bam, 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 bam. So like a normal person would cut it out and then put it in. I'm not a normal person. I'm just gonna do a little bit of this action. I'm gonna show you. Keep in mind, depends on what you use for butter normally, but if you don't mind a little bit of a cross-contaminational thing. Obviously don't do this with things that are poultry related, fish related, things that could transfer very negative kind of bacteria, but this is perfectly fine. So, I'm mixing in that butter and the heavy cream. Notice the color difference. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm gonna very quickly cut in some green onion that I'm gonna use as a garnish. If you have wilting sides, just cut it off. There you go. Bam. My sauce is very sexy now. I'm gonna take my steak that I had in the aluminum foil. Now, be very careful when you handle it. It's probably gonna be liquid at the bottom. It's hot. So, I'm gonna do this here. I'm gonna unwrap. Look at all that liquid. Guys, look, watch this, okay? Watch it, look at all that liquid. So, I'm gonna put in the steak, quick, to let the sauce kind of envelop the steak. And at the same time, I'm gonna add that liquid. Watch this, watch. Oh, look at that liquid. Look at that liquid. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So now, take your little bad boy tongs, and you're just giving a little bit of a flip. You want to have all kinds of movement. Bam. Now, I'm gonna add in some herbs. That way, it's not gonna burn, like I said. So I'm not gonna put any rosemary because I don't feel like doing it now, but I will, however, put a little bit of thyme. Again, you could actually add this to the sauce itself. I don't, because I noticed that it burns a lot. So look how beautiful it is, guys. Next, the plating. I'm gonna stop the oven. Let me grab a plate right here. Sorry for the noise. Okay. Oof. Can you guys see that? Perfect. So now, wow, look at the music's also accompanying me with this momentous moment. Okay. Oh, no mess, no mess. No, I'm gonna make a big mess soon anyway, so not a big deal. Jeez, that looks good. Guys, come on. Come on, look at this. Holy cow. Wow. Try not to swear on that one. So I don't want it to be a complete mess. But bam. I think that's okay. I have a little bit more sauce in the pan, but when you make a mess, guys, it's not a big worry. You just grab a towel, grab an apron, grab something. I'm grabbing some napkins because I got an infinite supply. Bam. Problem solved. Look, problem solved. It's gone. Okay. Take some of these little bad boys. Throw them like that. Ideally, you want fresh green onions, but it's kind of fresh. And I'm gonna throw some chives because I like texture. It's a tiny bit crunchy also. Oh, jeez. Okay, it looks fantastic. I'm gonna show you with the better camera. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, guys, that concludes this video on how to cook steak and then the sauce afterwards. I very much hope that you enjoyed it, that you learned some stuff. Please like and subscribe at the bottom if you liked it, and to also see future videos that I make. Please give me suggestions on other stuff that I can make. Someone actually suggested this today, and I thought, I have steak, let me just do it, because I want to teach you guys. I want to show you guys the right ways to do things. I love you all. Thank you for watching the video. Bye-bye.